Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. I'm Jackie Tomes, and on this show we're having open and honest conversations about how to create property businesses that create not just cash flow, not just time, but also freedom. And on this week's episode we are joined by the lovely Dom and Dave, and we're still in January 2024, so it's a great time to talk about New Year's resolutions and how to make 2024 your best year yet, with how you approach the habits that you put in place in your life to make sure you take a consistent and enjoyable route to success. So without further ado, here's Dom and Dave.
Welcome to all the listeners. This is Dominic Beechnow and I'm here with Dave Wigram from Property Strategy, and we're going to be talking today about habits because it's January and everyone's thinking either, no, I don't do New Year's resolutions anymore, I have given that up many years ago, I'm too old, no, never work. Or they're thinking, right, I'm going to start, this is going to be a new me, 2024 is going to be amazing, and what habits can I create from now on?
Actually, just as a starter, Dom, do you set resolutions every year?
No, because if I want to start something, I start it straight away. There's no point in waiting for a date. If you're waiting for a date, you're not really inspired to do it. it's like, oh yeah, I'll start the date on Monday. It's like, why are you starting today?
Brilliant. Okay, and yes, so you're right. The premise is it's New Year's resolutions, but we're focusing in on the habit side of it. And I think maybe I might just give a bit of a concept behind that, because actually it's the habits that create the result, right? It's exactly. The habits are the little steps that get you to a result. So for example, if we talk about a common New Year's resolution being, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. If you set I'm going to lose weight as your resolution, what you've set as a goal, but you haven't actually set the route to the goal or the habits. And in fact, you could end up taking all sorts of choosing habits or not doing any habits, or choosing specific methods that won't necessarily lead you to losing weight because you just, your body doesn't react to that diet well, or whatever you've chosen to do isn't the right thing for your body type. So you've kind of set a goal that could actually be impossible based on the habits you end up choosing. So it can be very demoralizing. So for example, in this respect, I would say, a better New Year's resolution would be to choose the habit that you're going to instill, the diet you're going to choose, whatever it might be, and say, I'm going to commit to that for a specific length of time and see whether whether I manage to lose weight using that particular habit. Much more powerful approach.
100%. It's that commitment every day to that habit, which then allows you to result in the goal. So that, your goals are what you're committed to. And you need to look at yourself in the mirror to see what you're really committed to in terms of life. So that's where it's got to start. It's got to start with the commitment, and then we do the habit every day, because as Aristotle said, is it Aristotle? Maybe it's someone else, I forget now. Anyway, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act but a habit. And that's why habits are absolutely essential to be able to create the life that you choose, whether it's property investing or losing weight or anything else that you want to do. It has to become habitual. Until it's habitual, it isn't real. It isn't going to be permanent in your life. So
I guess what you've just said, though, which is basically we are our habits. And so if you want to change your life and make a change, then the goal is only a waypoint. That's just like somewhere you're going to get to along the route of your habits, right?
It's the direction.
So if you set if people set goals and not the habit, what you end up doing is working really hard towards that goal in some way or another. You achieve the target, and then that's why so many people then let it flop and end up going back again. So you set your weight loss goal, you make it or achieve it or get close to it, and then you've done it, brilliant, and then you let it go. But if you haven't focused on the habit, which is actually the route to changing yourself personally. Anyway,
exactly. It's two sides of the same coin, though, because you've got to have a goal to know what you're aiming for, which allows you to kind of set the habit. But it's the habit that's going to get you there. It's not the goal that's going to get you to it. You've got to have the habit to get to the goal, but you've got to know what the goal is in order to know what the habit should be, or habits.
In theory, is the goal. You started this by saying inspiration. If you're inspired to do something properly, then really the goal is your inspiration, right? That's your thing that you're guided towards. But if you only set the inspiration without the habit, that's basically setting the target without the action.
Yes, and that's kind of therein lies motivation rather than inspiration. So I think motivation is external, something you want on the outside, whereas inspiration comes from within you, going, this is who I truly am, this is what I really want, and this is what I'm driven and feel purpose towards. So that's a big difference. And an awful lot of people, partly from their conditioning, society, parents, obligations, feeling stuck, maybe sometimes they set goals and maybe habits that they think they want, but actually they don't really, and that's why they don't really achieve them. And that's why it's so important to think really carefully about what you truly want. And actually, I would say go with your feelings. Now, a lot of people get confused here because they go, well, I feel like a beer, I feel like another glass of wine. And it's like, well, yeah, I hear you. But that's probably habitual conditioning of, that the result is that you'll feel maybe more relaxed and you'll enjoy the glass of wine or whatever it is. But actually, in terms of, what, I want to feel good every day. I want to sleep well. I want my health to get better. I want to have more energy. Those are things that deep down inside you, is best for you. And that's the one to be listening to rather than, I feel like another beer because I'm slightly inebriated already. It's so it's important to listen to the feelings, but they've got to be feelings that are in line with truth rather than sort of hiding or suppressing feelings and thoughts which come from overeating and overindulgence, which a lot of us have done over Christmas.
So I guess it's interesting because you're skirting on the realms of the basis of Hindu philosophy here, or yogic philosophy. The Bhagavad Gita starts with comments around this kind of two sides of your ego. You have your negative ego, your bad habits ego, and you have your positive ego, your kind of higher self ego, which is driving you, inspiring you to be better. Right. And that in essence, here we are in life, fighting the good fight. Again, the Bhagavad Gita is actually a story of a battle, and that battle being the battle between your impulses, your baser self, those egoic impulses to just follow those eating too much, drinking too much, desires, living the life to the full in a more, I'd say the Christians would call it a sinful way, but actually just in a following your physical cravings way. And you're kind of, obviously you've jumped on alcohol and actually glutton and food as a part there, but actually there's so many different aspects to that, and they are there in all of us. We've just come out of the most gluttonous part of the year, right? Christmas. Yes. And we all do it, and we all overeat, and we all overdrink and have a fantastic time, and the question is, how do we remove or break through the bad habits as they start creating, which is that kind of drive for the sugars and the alcohols, and replace them with the good habits, and which don't feel so physically good at the moment, but overall create a greater sense of well-being. And that's the higher self, and again the inspiration can come in at that point, being inspired to become a more healthy version of yourself, a person with better well-being. But yes, so that just really struck me, this kind of, you're talking about it, it's basically an age-old, millennia-old philosophy there.
The human condition that we all battle with. Absolutely. And I think, we all battle it. I do and have done and continue to do so. But it's one of those ones, the more aware you become, the easier it is to kind of set the right habits. Okay, so just as some examples then, a lot of people go, they set a big goal and then maybe they look at the habits that are going to get them there. But if they set a goal that's too big, like I'm going to earn, I don't know, whatever it is, £50,000 a month, or they're going to lose 3 stone, or they're going to, a big goal. If the goal is too big, it actually becomes demoralizing, and because it feels like it's too far. And that's why it's good to start with something slightly small, so that you build up your self-esteem, so that you build a relationship with yourself where you go, yeah, I can do this. I am achieving it because I'm little by little, I'm getting there. So you always want a little goal that's going to stretch you slightly, but is achievable and starts getting you on the road to success, because then you build on that. It's like a snowball effect of growing and building towards it. So, for example, one of the habits that I've done recently is, well, not recently, but in the last 3 years, is intermittent fasting. And I know you do that too.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you talk to someone about intermittent fasting, like, no, I can't stand being hungry. It's, you know, it's awful. I want to eat and I can't go on. Okay, so start with 12 hours, you know, between meals overnight when you're mostly sleeping. Then go to 13 and then 14, and then try some other things, you know, like MCT oil in a coffee or something like that. That means that you are using other things that are helping you to prolong that fast. And then, yeah, reduce the amount that you're eating during your eating window, and do other things that all contribute to it until you get to a point where you've got a habit, like I have personally now. I've achieved it and will stick with it, of eating in a 6-hour window. So I fast for 18 hours, thereabouts. Could be 19, could be 17, but on average it's 18 hours, and then I eat. But, you know, it took a little while to build up to that. But now that I've got there, I'm maintaining it, and that is the new version of me, because the energy I have and the mental clarity is just phenomenal, and also the weight just falls off. You know, 3 kilos in 3 weeks. It's just amazing how good it is, and particularly in January, it's a good time.
Yes.
Yeah,
we found the same.
Example.
The intermittent fasting was a definite weight loss move. What was your original inspiration behind choosing to do your intermittent fasting, Dom?
It would have been the book Game Changers by Dave Asprey, who talks about intermittent fasting, and then read several other books on it too. The Complete Guide to Fasting by Jason Fung, I think it is, and that's also really interesting. And yeah, just for the ladies listening, fasting isn't always good depending on the time of the month for you, so it's important that you get the right guidance. Because also the other thing is we try and push through when in fact it's, you know, not necessarily the best thing for us. So it's understanding your body and what works best for you, because we're all unique, and that's why it's good to experiment as well with different things. I know if I do exercise, I tend to put on weight, and in fact I think that's one of the big things that I've realized recently, is that if you do exercise, actually you're more hungry, and therefore you're more likely to overeat, and therefore you're more likely to put on weight. Also, muscle weighs twice as much as fat. And so, you know, exercise is not actually a very efficient way of losing weight. Fasting is far better. But then having an exercise regime as well that contributes to your energy.
I was going to just jump back to one thing you were saying earlier before I forget, which is intermittent fasting for women. There is a very specific book written by a lady about when and how to intermittent fast. I have not read it because it's not relevant to me, but Jackie has. I will ask her to put it in the show notes of this, so that any
Like a Girl
who are interested.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? There you go. Oh, Dom, you know it.
I don't know the author though, but because I haven't read it.
It's a good. Jackie loved it. Absolutely loved it. She thought it was brilliant. So yeah, new high levels. So look, another thing you've covered there that I'd love you to just delve into. How long does it take? Everyone's setting a habit in the new year. You set your new habits, or any time in the year. How long? My memory is coming up with 21 days.
Right, that's the famous one, right? The 21 days, been around for ages. I don't know if it was Brian Tracy or whoever, many years ago. It's 21 days to create a habit. And then, you know, UCL, University College London, came out with another research and said, no, it's actually 66 days. It's 22 days to break the idea. It's 22 days to recondition a new one, and another 22 days to integrate that last piece. And then you speak to someone like James Clear, who wrote a best-selling book that's been in the New York Times forever, basically, or at least 2 years, if not more, called Atomic Habits. And he says, well, how long does it take to create a habit? And he says, well, it's only a habit for as long as you maintain it. So it's basically lifelong, isn't it? So it's like, yeah. So, but it gets easier once you've got to a certain point. You know, if you're doing it on a regular basis, if you're doing it, like, for example, every day, you know, you wake up and, I don't know, you floss every single day. It will become a habit if you've done it for 66 days and you maintain it. But initially there is that time, let's say particularly around fasting, for example, where you might not see or weight loss, you might not see results initially. And maybe in your business, you know, you start doing something, you start working on your business, for example, and you don't see results initially. but you do it for a certain amount of time, and then suddenly there's like a breakthrough of success, and things start to come through, and you suddenly get more clients, and things like that, or raise finance more easily. And it's because there is that kind of latent potential. It's like an elastic band being stretched, and it at some point it's going to go twang, and it's going to fly off, and that's when you kind of get success. But sometimes when you start a habit, it does take a while to embed and for the results to come through. But most people will try it for a while and not give it long enough, and as a result they feel that it failed, it didn't work. But that's like going to the gym once and going, oh, it didn't work for me. It's like you have to keep doing it. So that's the thing about habits too. Initially we need to ideally make them obvious, make them easy, make them rewarding, and make them really attractive as well, so that they're things that you want to do. And if you want to break a habit, the opposite is true. Make them unrewarding, make them horrible, set penalties, just like punish yourself for doing them. And then you'll break those habits. So
yeah. It's like, from what you've said there, I feel like the habits, it's really, this always comes to mind when I think about habits. There's one book, Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, where he talks about habits, and in particular the way he talks about them just sticks with me, as that you're never going to be able to, no one is perfect, so no one is ever going to start a habit and just keep it going forever. Right. So his idea was that the magic of a good habit is one that you can keep recommitting to. Yes. And that succeeding in a new habit is about the recommitment, not about the initial commitment, and not about, so as long as you've got something that you can just keep every time you fall off the bandwagon, every time you have something that helps you to get back up and recommit to that habit, that's the way to ensure it will instill in you, it will become something new. So that was the one thing I was going to say. And then the other thing I was going to say, that what is a habit, right? In theory, it's something that is, when you're doing it, is making you feel comfortable. Ooh. You feel comfortable and good doing it. And that is a physical and emotional sensation. Right. So you've basically instilling something inside of yourself that you do it long enough that it becomes the norm for your body. Now, everything we do, bad habits or good habits, is just a norm, a normal status quo for our body. And when the body is in normal zone, it's comfortable. And when it's comfortable, it feels safe. And so as long as you're feeling safe in the body, it sends out all the right hormones to you to say, this is good, let's keep doing this because we understand this and we feel safe. And that's the fight or flight mechanism, the fear mechanism is all around. If you're feeling safe, you must, your body wants you to stay there, because that means you're not going to die. Right. Right. And if it doesn't understand something and it feels unsafe, it makes you feel uncomfortable and tells you to get away from it, because it fears that it might be something that's going to kill you. So this is what we're working with, is that it doesn't matter what you're doing, your body's primal instinct just needs to get very comfortable with it. Yes. It needs to start releasing the right hormones for you around it and make it feel like it's part of its normal schedule, because then the body, as long as it feels really comfortable and feels like it's something it's always regularly doing, it starts to say, let's keep doing this, right, because I understand it and I like it and it feels safe. And as long as it's something that I understand, I'm going to feel comfortable, and it will then release the hormones to make you feel comfortable doing it. Et voila, we have something that is a new habit, a new way of being. And so that's all we're trying to do, right? Is get the body to understand that this is not, and that's the thing, is the worst thing is that bad habits are the same. Something that's actually bad for the body, that is possibly killing you, is a habit. But the body gets comfortable with it. It starts to understand that this is just something we do, and it's normal, and it's not killing me now. There's no immediate threat. So it starts to say, okay, this is good. Let's do this. Let's keep doing this every day. Whether that's your coffee fix or your cigarettes or your alcohol, whatever it is, your biscuit, your sugar, the body just gets accustomed to it and says, okay, no, this isn't killing me. Okay, no, that's fine. I do it every day. Okay, I get used to this. I understand this. Let's keep cycling it because it's not killing me. That's good. I'm safe. So that's what we're fighting, right? Is that the body?
Yes, exactly. We are fighting the body, and so it's good to be aware of, though. There's two types of happiness. Effectively, there's instant gratification in the moment. Having maybe a biscuit with your cup of tea or whatever it might be, and that's really nice. But then there's delayed gratification, or type 2 happiness, which is where like maybe you're doing exercise and it's like, oh my God, this is really painful. And, I want to stop running, and you're doing a 10K or something like that. And it's really painful in the moment. But when you achieve it, it's like, yes, that's awesome. I feel so good. And we know from research that people who are really successful are those that are able to delay gratification, to go, you know what, I'm doing this, and it's harder now, but I know I'm going to get the results later, and that's worth it far more than going, you know what, I'm just going to give up now and do it anyway, or do this now because I get the pleasure now.
Have you got any tricks for that delayed gratification for having something inspiring, motivating that you can push towards? How do you hold that in mind when it's a new habit and you haven't necessarily? I mean, I hate exercise.
Right.
I don't think I've ever felt that feeling of euphoria at the end of a workout. But regardless, there's going to be plenty of habits we're trying to instill that people don't yet know what that feeling is going to be like, and the body hasn't yet learned it. Yes. But they know it's going to be good. They just don't. Everyone's telling them it's good, and they know it should be right. Yes. Any tricks for helping people to get that?
A number spring to mind. One is because it's all about, your self-esteem is your relationship with yourself, right? So it's about building a good relationship with yourself, with your mind, with your body, with your feelings, so that you're not beating yourself up the whole time. This is what I find an awful lot of people, they're always kind of beating themselves up, and so they're never happy. And even when they do achieve something, they're still not happy. So we have to train ourselves to one measure. So have habit trackers, have accountability partners, join a mastermind, get a coach, get a mentor, someone who's going to help you stay accountable. Accountability is one. Also, get and appreciate, look back and go, look how far you've come. So looking at your successes, I would say on a daily basis, and this is where journaling comes in, to go, look at what I've achieved today. Look at who I've become. This is how I've improved from yesterday. In just one day, I've improved. I've got better in this area, even if it's tiny. And the more you do that, the more you're training your mind to look for those things. So then you're building up your self-esteem. You're feeling better. Another thing to do is create rewards. You go, you know what? I'm going to do this for a week, and I'm going to reward myself with, a glass of wine on Sunday or something, whatever it is that makes it just a little bit more, just enjoyable, because you're rewarding as you go. Maybe you buy yourself a manicure or a spa day or something like that, where you're looking after yourself. Ideally, probably not a glass of wine on Sunday, but or maybe it's a particularly good bottle, something just like really special that is a reward, that you see as a reward that is ideally beneficial for the body rather than detrimental.
Red wine is beneficial. That's as far as I'm concerned. It's proven, scientifically proven. Red wine is good for you,
right? In moderation. Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things. If it makes you happy and you're feeling good, then that's the way. And that's why we also have to be able to discern what is truly feeling good versus actually I'm just masking my symptoms, I'm masking the pain that I'm in, and I'm not addressing whatever issue that I've got. And so instead I'm eating too much, or I'm drinking too much, or I'm exercising too much, or I'm addicted to work, or all of those things that we're having to deal with as humans each day. But the more we train ourselves, the easier it gets, the more we grow, the more we benefit. And guess what? It benefits the people around you too. Because when you're feeling good and you're energized and you're productive and you're serving others, everyone around you benefits. So that's another reason to do it. Not just for yourself, but for your family and for your friends and for society as well, because that's really fulfilling.
That's wow. It's like, the end result what you've just described is kind of where we all want to be, right? That's it. These regular shifts of habits towards a better version of ourselves to benefit everyone and everything is just a beautiful sentiment. It's like life. It's like the best version of life in a nutshell there. So let's talk a little bit about going back to like the immediate. What are the most powerful habits that you've seen in clients? I guess let's start with clients you've worked with, where you've seen someone implement a new habit, whether it's New Year's resolution or not, doesn't matter. Just a new habit that you've seen massive impact in their life and in those around them.
Yes. Great. This is Fantastic. As you know, as the listeners know from hearing us before, my passion is helping the person optimize who they are to become really productive, get into flow, and guess what? As a result, their business grows. So we can talk about business habits, having a rhythm of a particular team meeting, which is absolutely essential to success in business. And it's absolutely key. You've got to know what to do, and you've got to do it on a regular basis. Having that rhythm of a weekly meeting around marketing, or a weekly habit of working on the business rather than in it. All those sorts of things are going to make a massive difference to your business. But I was working with a particular council in the UK, and I approached it that it's all about being in flow and being productive. But actually what I was really looking at and helping them with is themselves, their morning routine, so that they wake up and feel energized, and they're feeling good and thinking happy and successful thoughts about each day, rather than going, oh, I'm going to be more productive because I've got this new management technique that I'm going to use with the team. It's like, no, when you're at your best and you're feeling energized, you're feeling happy, and you've got a great routine that gives you all of those good feelings and energy, so that you can feel like you can overcome problems and help others. That's when productivity increases. That's when happiness increases, and as a result, your business gets better.
So are there things that people have done specifically that you're talking about, getting people into true flow in life, in every day, and rhythms being part of that? So would you say there's anything you've seen people do where you're just like, oh, that was a good thing for someone to focus on, that really made a difference to that getting into flow?
Yeah. So I think that the best one, or best ones, have been people who've created or have a really good morning routine. So they get up, and there's some sort of meditation practice. There could be also exercise in there, and either they do fasting, or they have a really good healthy breakfast with some protein in it. That means that they've got energy for the day. So the morning routine is the big one. And included in that morning routine, there could be things like visualization and affirmations, because as we know, we are always thinking, right? Our mind is talking to us all day long, right? So if we are deliberate in the morning with, I am peaceful, I am successful, I am always in the right place at the right time to find best deals, I attract investors. If you see positive, self-affirming affirmations to yourself like that, then your subconscious mind will eventually go, oh, all right then. And it'll start helping you spot opportunities that otherwise hadn't been there, because you were thinking in a different way. You were thinking, oh, this is so hard. Oh, this is really difficult. Oh, I'm not enough. Oh, what are people going to think about me if I don't feel comfortable in this environment. And basically you're saying that to yourself the whole time. So your body is going, or your subconscious mind is going, okay, that's what we've got to manifest, and that's what we've got to create more of. So yeah, I would say having a great affirmations list, a good visualization. Some people work well with words, others work well with what they hear, others work well with images. It's finding what works for you, having a fantastic morning routine that sets you up for the day, and clarity about what you're doing, and then going with it, and keeping effectively the energy high, but by also taking time for rest. So the other thing, other great habit, is not trying to push through the whole time in terms of your energy, knowing that we've got to take breaks on a regular basis, whether it's daily, every couple of hours, and it's got to be different breaks. It could be doing some art, it could be go for a walk. I mean, connecting with nature is just the best medicine in the world. So go outside, go for walks, go for runs, do exercise, meditate, have a nice cup of tea, anything that's going to help regulate your body and get it out of any fight or flight or even freeze sensation that you might have from whatever's going on around you in the business.
Brilliant. There's a couple of things that I wanted to add to that, or at least things you made me think about. Number one was this concept that habitually we're so used to this idea that we can practice something physically and it will improve. This is how a musician gets better. That's obviously the background I come from, music. You spend hours in the practice room repeating and repeating the same thing over and over again, so that the muscle memory can be created. And the muscle memory is literally just the ability for the muscle to repeat the action without thought. And the muscle memory is basically where you have created a neurological pathway that has happened so many times that it starts to forge and hardwire, so that with an impulse at the beginning, there's no further thought. The electrical impulse can just fire straight through the wiring, neurologically, and repeat the pattern that it's done many times. That's all that's happening. That's what muscle memory is. What we forget, and what I only learned 3 years ago or so, is that that's muscles, physical, but thoughts and emotions are also physical, which means that when you're talking about affirmations, you're basically saying there is a thought is an electrical impulse that goes through the brain. And if you have a thought and then you practice having that same thought, you just forging the hardwiring for negativity, for having the same negative judgmental thought over and over again. And by doing affirmations, all you're doing, and it makes so much sense when you think about it like this, you're just forging new neurological pathways. You're just practicing a new pathway inside the brain, so that if you keep saying to yourself every morning, I am, happy, I am positive, I am abundant, and you say it to yourself enough times in the right ways, and you really feel it, when you say it, you're basically practicing the neurological pathways, forging a nice new hardwiring, which means that through the rest of your life, when you're not doing those affirmations, that is a stronger impulse inside of you than the other ones, than the negative ones you might normally think. So I never really got this before, and I just wanted to say it because, I didn't understand affirmations. Why would you just sit there? If I just say I'm happy, how's that making a difference? It's just practice. It's literally just practicing something, so that scientifically you are changing yourself physiologically to be able to utilize that in day-to-day life without any conscious thought. It just happens. You're creating an automatic programming for yourself, which I think that is the fundamental of habits, right? That's it. That's what we're trying to do when we create a habit as well. We're trying to create new pathways. So that was one thing. Oh, I can't remember what the other thing was, Dom.
But that's right. But we are just like computers. In a way, we are creating computers and even artificial intelligence to kind of mimic us, to create better versions in a way. And I think in particular with AI, let's go off on the tangent here. But it's a habitual way of creating something new, and it's using sort of the all that knowledge to create new things, and so we mustn't think that we're different. We are programmable, and we have that creativity as well. And so if we're always being creative, then we haven't got any consistency, therefore there's no power in it. Things that have power have frequency, just like a vibration. It goes up and down. There's like the habit. You have the highs and the lows, and you do it and you rest, and you do it and you rest, and you do it, you rest, etc. So that's really important to be aware that we are what we repeatedly do, and that's why it's so important to program ourselves in the right way to get the right results, if we are committed to our results, and that's why commitment comes back. But anyway, sorry.
Brilliant. So morning routine is your biggest habit. I think for me, I look at this as two different things, and morning routine really straddles the both, which is what are your business habits that you're instilling, and what are your personal habits you're instilling. And the nice thing about morning routine is it basically it's everything. It's the start to your day, start to your business day and your life, your personal day. And you're right. It's the best method to ensure you are getting into flow more often, and like you said, flow requires you to be out of the stress state, to be able to be in a state of flow. Again, I talk about flow in the same way that Stephen Kotler does personally. If you talk about flow, Stephen Kotler is the master. He's the one who has researched it the most, and he wrote an incredible book called
Art of Impossible.
Oh, you're so good at this, Dom. Art of Impossible. You just bring it out. Art of Impossible, which is literally Stephen Kotler's Bible on what flow is and how it impacts us and makes everything better. It's incredible, well worth a read, because he pretty much states that when we're in flow, we are amazing and we are just superhuman. And when we're not in flow, we're not. We're basically limiting ourselves in every way, shape, or form. But the main thing I took away was that if you are at all stressed in any way, you are stopping yourself from achieving flow. Not stress in any way. There is an element of stress, light stress. If you're stressed as in negative stress, if you're in he uses stress in terms of putting stress on yourself, like physical stress to like push yourself, but I'm talking about the stress of negativity
Mm.
and like that kind of stress that we all know when things aren't going to plan. If you're feeling that stress and it's getting you to that tunnel vision state, you're basically limiting your flow ability and limiting yourself in every way, shape, or form. And I think you've highlighted one of the big habits that we can all do, which feels like nothing, but it is kind of everything, is that stress is a state of mind. And it's a state of mind that cannot be gotten out of by just sticking at it and being in it. So the only way to get yourself regularly out of stress and keep your body in that state of being that's more calm and keep yourself there is to regularly take the breaks, to step back and take your mind away from what you're working on. And that if you set the day up right and you do those regular breaks, you are able to regulate, that's the word really, to regulate your body and choose to do that. I guess up until a few years ago, it didn't even occur to me that I was like this state of being was a stress state of being. I didn't know it was, but it
because
is.
we're so used to it. We don't know how to
so used to it.
do anything other than that. Yeah, I was meditating this morning and realizing quite how distracted my mind is and gets. But it's that habitual way of going, you know what, I'm going to get out of my mind, I'm going to drop into my heart, and I'm going to feel rather than think about things the whole time. And when you get guidance and ask for guidance, almost in the meditation, ask for guidance from your heart, then insights tend to pop into your head, whether you're on a walk or meditating quietly or you know, fishing or whatever you might be doing quietly. That's when you get the best ideas,
magic inspiration,
because that's that intuition and guidance that is worth so much more than thinking I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this. That's the mind. The mind doesn't solve problems in the same way that the trees outside, they don't try, they're not like thinking, oh, I've got to do this now, I've got to do that now. It all happens effortlessly and it's all perfectly balanced. We need to tune back into nature, become more of the essence of who we are, and just be. And things happen far more effortlessly when you're in a good state of peace and well-being, which is why success really starts with you being at your best. Feeling good.
So in terms of that, getting to be in our best state, we've talked about morning routine, we've talked about taking breaks. I'm going to put a couple of other things on the table. Alcohol. We've all had too much over Christmas, and it's time to like really take that seriously. For me, alcohol is one of the biggest instigators for worst health. It's the catalyst for worse health, worse mindset, worse emotional state. It's everything, right? It's literally, it's also a killer of good habits, full stop. You know, if you want to get up and do a good morning routine, a hangover is literally the nemesis of that, or even just feeling in a worse state in the morning. You're less likely to get out of bed in a good positive state and be able to do the exercise you plan to do or whatever. So for me, limiting alcohol is a fantastic habit to have a think about. I was enforced to do it during lockdown. COVID lockdown, I was in South Africa. They had an alcohol ban. Now I was always aware that I drank a fair amount because I love wine, but I was enforced to literally go alcohol free for 6 weeks or something. And it was, at first, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, yeah, I don't see a difference. Nah, don't see it. Whatever. Jackie was loving it, and she was like, oh my god, it's a whole different world out there. And I was like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. But actually, by the end of it, when I went back to alcohol, the biggest change for me was that I was able to go back and massively limit how much I was drinking, because actually I'd broken it inside my body, this feeling of need of alcohol, drinking every night. So therefore, it was when I had my first glass of champagne, which was what we first bit of alcohol I had after 6 weeks off. It tasted too alcoholic. It wasn't nice. It was like, what is this? Is this really what it tastes like? And I couldn't believe it. But it meant that I just was able to then reset a new alcohol habit, which was a balanced one, which is one I regularly, it fluctuates and changes as life changes, but generally we stick to about 2 days a week alcohol, and 4 to 5 days a week off. And then when I do have alcohol, I try and make sure I don't have too much and I have really nice stuff to really enjoy it. But what it does is it's just the knock-on effect on everything in your life, because when you're drinking, you're eating more. It literally forces it gets your body to not realize it's full, so you keep eating. you
He
struggle
says,
to get up in the morning, so all your habits are ruined. Your emotional state, your chemicals are whacked out of the way. The worst like depressions we see in our clients are usually straight after they've had a stag weekend or something like that, and they come back to work totally overwhelmed and totally struggling. And it's like, yeah, but you just drank loads over the weekend and now you're suffering. And so yes, of course business is overwhelming. That's just fact. So it's stop connecting the two. How you're feeling right now is not the business, it's the alcohol. That's like, it's just, and I know that I've had that as well. I've just felt awful for a week and thinking, oh, it's just all so hard. I feel really overwhelmed by business, and oh, why is this thing so crap all the time? And oh my, maybe I should just jack it all in. You have those thoughts because you've just been drinking too much. So that's it. I think alcohol is a massive one for me. That would be on the personal one. Just to anyone making if you don't have some sort of attempt at a good habit around alcohol, it's well worth putting one in.
Is a key one, isn't it? And because also your stomach lining rebuilds itself every week, right? So you'll actually change your taste buds, you'll change the things that you want to eat if you give yourself a break basically from eating. And that's why fasting is so good. So I find every January I'm craving more sweet stuff, because over Christmas I've had way more sweet stuff. So that, after alcohol, so I would say to people, start with alcohol, give that up for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, as long as you want, basically. The longer the better. Then maybe try cutting down on sugar. Sugar is that is the biggest addiction in the world at the moment. So cutting out sugar will also allow your hormones to regulate far better. And then maybe experiment with wheat, and then experiment with dairy as well. So I'm dairy free. I don't eat much sugar at all, and I don't drink. And as a result, I'm far more aware and sensitive to the clients that I work with, and able to kind of pick up and sense what's going on for them, almost sort of psychically, telekinesis, whatever it might be. Anyway, it allows me to do that because I'm far more in touch, and my body is sort of in homeostasis, in a good state. So I can pick up on these things. Whereas if you're kind of bashing it all the time with lots of Dave Asprey called it's like loads of paper cuts. One doesn't kill you, but millions would. And the millions are eating too much sugar, drinking too much, maybe not allowing your body to heal through intermittent fasting. And so if you're always giving yourself paper cuts by eating too much sugar and alcohol and things like that, then that's why you feel tired.
Brilliant. And I'm just aware of time. I wanted to just shove out a few more good habits to give people some inspiration here. I think that made a massive impact. So for me, another one that makes a massive impact, making a habit around reading new books and personal development, right? So it's saying to yourself, I'm going to try and get through one new book a month, or one book every 2 weeks, or whatever, whether it's listening or reading. I have had the most evolution personally, and getting to a much better place when I started to just forge through the incredible literature out there around, personal habits. All of these books we talk about, I've read in the last few years. It's just evolved me, just opened my mind. So getting a good habit around literally personal development books of some sort, or spiritual books, or whatever floats your boat, but just regularly opening your mind to it. Massive.
Or a course, or
podcast, or a course, or a podcast. Exactly. Next one I was going to say was meditation. Obviously, we talk about it all the time, but just a simple, trying to just instead a habit of maybe 10 minutes in the morning is a good starting point. That's all you need to do as a good starting point. 10 minutes in the morning. Fantastic. It's so empowering. It makes a massive difference to your life. So that was another one. And then another one for me was time blocking. If you are the type of person who feels overwhelmed by your job and too much to do, then it's probably because you're not managing your time well enough. And I think trying a habit, even just a starting point of, like we talked about it, on rhythms and time, like blocking in time for meetings, but actually time blocking something in your life for bits of the business that are not getting enough attention, and just saying, do you know what? Friday mornings, I'm going to spend 2 hours every Friday morning on my marketing, all the stuff I'm not getting done on my marketing because I'm too busy firefighting and operating my business. I'm going to spend 2 hours every day, and that is going to be sacrosanct, zero tolerance. It's the meeting I'm in with myself. No one can I can't answer the phone. It's like if I'm in a meeting with someone else, I would never pick up the phone and say, sorry, just got to talk to someone for 20 minutes. You just don't. So treat it like that same way. You've got the power, you've got the discipline, the willpower when you're talking to someone else. So why not do it when you're on your own, and just put yourself some time aside, time block the things that you're missing in your business that aren't getting done. So I think those 3 would be my big habits to suggest. Any from you, Dom, to finish off?
For me, it would be intermittent fasting and cutting down on sugar and alcohol. You mentioned alcohol, obviously, but if you look after yourself, your body will look after you. It'll reward you with loads more energy. The other thing I'd say also is that people often try and do too much in one go. So just start with one habit. Start simple, and then it's easier to stick with, right? Because it's just one thing. So whereas if you try and go, I'm going to do all these 9 things, like, yeah, no, you're not. You won't. It's just that you can't change that much. We're hardwired to repeat ourselves, and therefore just try and change one thing at a time.
Thank you so much for joining us on this latest episode. If you're enjoying the show, please do recommend a friend, spread the good word about the conversations that we're having here. We hear some lovely feedback, so it would be great to spread the good word about the different thoughts and ideas that we're putting out into the property world to bring a bit more sunlight and joy to someone else's investing life. So next week, you will be joined by myself and Dave, and we're talking about strategy. When is it time to change your strategy? We have a lot of conversations about this with our mentees, and it's time to share some of those key learnings that we've had over the years so that you can decide, is now the time to change what you're doing, or is it time to stick with it and keep going and find a different way to solve that problem? So that's myself and Dave next week. So until then, have a great week.